We have breaking news that the Toronto Blue Jays have just robbed the MLB as they traded Yusei Kikuchi to the Houston Astros for an absolute steal. We're going to break down the exact trade, discuss who they got back, and why this prospect could change everything for the Blue Jays going forward. So stay tuned for all that on this episode of Jays Digest. Let's just dive right into it. Welcome in, everybody. Some breaking news just happened. I just got back from basketball, and we're just recording this right away. Yusei Kikuchi has been traded to the Houston Astros, and the package they got might surprise everybody because it has surprised Jays fans, it has surprised Jays writers, and it has surprised MLB fans as a whole. And everybody is speaking out about this trade. And we're also going to get Peter's thoughts in this. I have an audio clip from him. He gave his opinion on this trade, and we'll have tons more breaking it down. But this is by far the biggest haul the Blue Jays have gotten back for a prospect so far in this trade deadline. And it is quite frankly, I'm shocked that the Blue Jays were able to pull this off. And round of applause to Ross Atkins for pulling this one off. And you can see right here, there's a lot of stuff to get into today. So Astros are close to acquiring Yusei Kikuchi from the Blue Jays. Sources tell Meach and Chandler Rome. Jim Bowden was the first one on it. Right-handed pitcher Jake Bloss. Yes, right-handed pitcher Jake Bloss is expected to be in the return. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Jake Bloss, we're going to dive all into it right now. We're going to have more videos about it tomorrow. But Jake Bloss was the guy, and I was seeing it on my timeline. If you trade Yusei Kikuchi to the Astros, maybe, hopefully, you can pray because of how unsaturated this market is with pitchers and how many pitchers, starting pitchers and elite starting pitchers are not available on the market. Maybe you could pray for a huge haul like Jake Bloss, who is a top 100 prospect in baseball, has started and played in MLB games this season. Yes, he hasn't looked great, but he already can slide in, and there's a chance that there is a world where Jake Bloss slides into the Toronto Blue Jays rotation and ends up having a better, ERA, maybe even next season than Yusei Kikuchi. That's the potential that this guy has. I mean, you can make a case that maybe he could pitch better than Jake Bloss this season for the rest of the year. I've seen that on the timeline as well, but Jake Bloss is the return, and you can see here I am pumped up. Jake Bloss for 2 months of Yusei Kikuchi looks like a strong return for the Blue Jays. Fangraphs ranked him 92nd overall among all prospects ahead of the deadline. This is the brand new rankings, 92nd in baseball. He is close to MLB ready, having already debuted. If he becomes a mid-rotation starter for the Jays, that's a success. That being said, pitchers break all the time, and you never know. Will take time. For now, we can say the Jays would get an interesting prospect if they finalize the deal for Bloss, and that's what all signs are pointing to here. Ladies and gentlemen, I have not been this excited about a trade in a very long time. Maybe the Dalton Varsho trade got me this excited, but Jake Bloss was on everybody's radar if you were really tuned into the Yusei Kikuchi and the Astros thing. You see Foolish Baseball here. Shout out to him. Bloss for a Kikuchi rental is kind of nuts. Great move for the Blue Jays. And we've seen some steals from the Rays. We've seen some steals from tons of teams across baseball so far where you're getting a lot of prospects back for rentals, for relievers. And for Yusei Kikuchi, finally getting a top 100 prospect, finally getting a guy who you can really circle as someone who can play for the Blue Jays going forward, be a young rotation piece. And we mentioned it, and Ben Smith has mentioned it. If you look at the haul, so prior to this trade, 6 out of 7 of the players the Toronto Blue Jays acquired at this trade deadline were outfielders. They were outfielders, and they were looking at position players, I should say, not outfielders. They were position players. They were not pitchers. And now we were hoping with the Yusei Kikuchi trade that they'd be able to get back a starting pitcher, and guess what they did? They got one of the better starting pitching prospects, not one of the better in baseball, but a very good one, and he was ranked second on, I believe, it's Baseball America's Houston Astros top 30 prospect list. So he's the second ranked prospect on the Houston Astros system, and man, am I excited. Fangraphs says Jake Bloss, the Blue Jays prospect, is the Blue Jays top prospect, which is a wild return for someone who struggled as much as Kikuchi has in the past 2 months. Guys, he is the top prospect now for the Toronto Blue Jays. We got a top prospect in our system. Now, obviously, the system is pretty weak. Ricky Tiedemanns went down with injury. Brandon Barriera. Arjun Amala is having a seriously impressive season. He's obviously going to probably rise up those rankings. But getting a top prospect for a rental is absolutely crazy to me. I haven't been this pumped in a very, very long time for anybody, let alone Yusei Kikuchi rental. Like, we didn't even trade Chris Bassett, who has control, Kevin Gosman, who has control, any one of those guys, and we got a top 100 prospect. Now, if you traded Bassett, who's having an okay year, innings eater, a couple years of control left, or after this one more year, I would say, okay, maybe you get a top 100 prospect for that, but getting a top 100 prospect for Yusei Kikuchi is incredible work by Ross Atkins. Like, it is a masterclass by Ross Atkins, and you look at his stats this year. He switched 3 games, 11 innings, and gave up 9 runs. Nothing really exciting there. Pretty rough, actually. But when you look into his prospect rankings, how he's done in the minor leagues, all these things, and you're saying, hey, this is a very exciting deal for the Toronto Blue Jays, and quite frankly, I'm super, super excited about this trade. And again, we'll get Peter's thoughts on it now in a second, but man, I want to hear all your thoughts on this. Finally, Ross Atkins. I mean, I think he's had a to A minus for trade deadline so far. You're rejuvenating your system. You're getting young guys back. You're trading all of your rentals, and we still have one more day of the deadline. Chad Green is probably the next guy up in the trade deadline market. And if the Blue Jays can get a top 100 prospect for Yusei Kikuchi, and maybe they go out and get a top 100 prospect for Chad Green, I'm fired up. I'm speaking fast. I'm pumped up. Just got back from basketball, and I'm just like, what? We got Jake Bloss. He was the guy I was looking out for. Let me show you guys exactly what Peter's reaction is. He's at a basketball game right now. He recorded an audio clip for you guys, so I'm going to pop up the screenshot of the trade and let you guys listen in to Peter's thoughts on this trade. And he shares some similar thoughts to me. So take a listen, guys, and we'll be back in a second after you guys hear him.
Nick, I believe the Blue Jays did really well in this trade, acquiring Jake Bloss, the number 92 ranked prospect in all of baseball. You can never have too many starting pitchers, and that was evident when the Blue Jays had so many injuries throughout the season. So I really think this is a great deal for them, and to get a top 100 prospect for 2 months of Yusei Kikuchi, that's really good work by Ross Atkins, and they continue this fire sale of just getting pure prospects and restocking their farm system that is widely regarded as one of the worst in all of baseball. So I'm really happy with this trade. I think it was a good move by Ross Atkins and company. And let's see who's the next one to go. Probably Chad Green, especially considering the reliever market that has been going down. And this has been a great start to the deadline, but it's not over yet. They have until 6 p.m. tomorrow to make all of these moves, and I expect some more dominoes to fall. So really happy with it. Nick, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, and like Peter said there, like, an absolute steal for the Blue Jays. A very good fundamental acquisition. And obviously getting a top prospect, and like Peter said, Ross Atkins pulling this off is very impressive. Now, who knows how good he'll actually be? Who knows how far he's going to go into the, next season and going forward. But getting a guy who can even just be a fundamental piece on this team going forward is a robbery for the Toronto Blue Jays. And when other fans are kind of speaking out in the trade, obviously we don't really know. I mean, from the Houston Astros perspective, like, it does make sense for them. They're looking for to win a World Series. They're looking to contend. They're looking to really be a perennial, obviously a World Series team like they have been for years now. But getting Kikuchi, like, Kikuchi's a very good arm. But we're keeping in mind, he's been really lackluster the last 5 to 10 starts. And we said that in one of our prior videos that really we're worried about the return you were going to get and worried about getting a top return because he's an expiring deal. And not only is he an expiring deal, but he's also having a rough little bit. And we were talking about, I made a comparison of Yusei Kikuchi to the Astros for similar to Liriano. When Liriano got traded for Teoscar Hernandez way back, I think it was 2017, they got Teoscar Hernandez. Liriano, they ultimately won the World Series, but Liriano was kind of the bullpen guy. He did some good things. I think Kikuchi's going to be a starter, but obviously Jake Bloss is not a position player, an outfielder like Teoscar was, but he could really be an interesting prospect. I want to hear your thoughts down below. Let me know what your thoughts are on this trade. We're going to have tons more content tomorrow. It is deadline day. We might go live. We might have a bunch of videos here and there, but I want to make sure to get you up to date with the latest news for the Toronto Blue Jays tomorrow. And let us know down below. Did you think the Jays robbed the MLB? I definitely did. See you guys soon.